This is the opening of my story, The Boy Who Didn't Speak. A boy who didn't speak, a boy without words, quiet. That is what they said, the survivors. That isn't how I remember Ibrahim. That isn't how I remember my brother. I remember him playing with the other boys in the dust, his smile breaking through the ochre fog hanging over our arid land. I remember his laugh, a sharp cackle like the rasp of a buzzard. From the first light of morning through to the early shadows of dusk, he was a talker, all right. He was never short of a story or a joke. Now that's the opening of my story for the collection Alt-Right, W-R-I-T-E. And it's basically saying there's another narrative in this world of neoliberalism and the exclusion of migrants and war. And this is what we as writers are trying to explore. My story basically comes out of a visit I did to the Calais refugee camp 2 summers ago. And I met a group of young Sudanese men. I met a lad from the Swat Valley and people from other parts of the world facing war and poverty. And some of these people had crossed literally a continent. And then we get British newspapers saying they're lazy. And this is just laughable. These are people in desperate conditions that need empathy and need support and need a future from some of the richest countries in the world. And that is why I think the story is incredibly, not the story, the collection is incredibly important. The other single image that made me want to write this story about refugees, because I believe refugees are the conscience of the world, was seeing Alan Cordy, this little boy in his trousers and shirt lying face down on a European beach. And I think an image like that shames us. Shames us. All these years after Jewish kids fled in the Kinder transport. And some people are proud, rightly, that we got a statue in London to those kids. And yet some of the same people want to turn their back on other kids who are now fleeing poverty and dislocation. And that really is why I wanted to write this story, because there's too much fake news about. But the fake news isn't the stuff that Donald Trump talks about. It is the exclusion of the stories of the poor, the excluded, the desperate, looking for a better life. I think we have to talk about those stories. That's what alt-right is all about.